Hi, it's lovely to meet you. My name is Yuldi, and this is my very first YouTube channel about rheumatoid arthritis. I wanted to give you my story and what happened to me and my journey, mainly because I've seen other people's YouTube videos, and some of which are still on a journey to recovery. Some channels are, have recovered. And yeah, I see some of the comments down below in the sections, and people are commenting with sheer desperation. They're so desperate to understand what they can do, and it takes me back to a very dark time of my life when even before I was diagnosed, when I had no idea what this illness really was and what I could do to help myself. And I remember the pain and the sheer fear of, oh my goodness, am I ever going to be okay? When I was diagnosed, I was only 29. Actually, I was 28. Yeah, when I was diagnosed, I was only 28 years old. And I just thought, wow, I won't even be able to run around with my kids someday, or I won't even be able to walk my dog like I love to do. And it really took me to a very dark and dismal place where I couldn't envision how my life was going to be, and that was really sad for me. So I'll start off by telling you when this all started. It was around 2014 when I started getting inflammation around my face. My eye socket would puff up to the point where I looked like I'd been punched. My cheeks would just bloat out, and I have very thin kind of features. I'm very petite in general, and suddenly just things started going wrong, and I went to the hospital several times, got so many blood tests, and they were all apparently negative, minus some issues with my blood count, and also I was severely vitamin D deficient. So I kind of thought, okay, that's probably why I'm tired, that's probably why I'm getting these inflammations. So try to sit in the sun more often. I still do, I love the sun. And I tried to, eat better, more vegetables in my diet, but it kept happening, and then I tried to eliminate certain things. So I started becoming more vegetarian, and continued even when I did it for 6 weeks, maybe even up 2 months, but it still continued. So then I tried to drink loads of water. I was chugging down 2.5, maybe 3 liters of water a day, but that didn't help. So eventually I kept going to the hospital requesting more blood tests. And in the UK, the National Health Service, they're very tight with their budget, and I understand they're stretched, completely stretched, but I was really desperate, and they could see from pictures I'd been taking that I looked completely abnormal, and the swellings were something that were just not okay. And a lot of doctors kind of tried to sweep it under the rug and say, oh, you've got what do you call it, you've got sinuses, or there's something, you're allergic, it's allergies. But it was happening in the summer, in the winter, in spring. It was happening all the time, whether I let my dog sleep in my bed, whether I didn't, whether I walked in the morning. It was all the time. So anyway, I continued to request these blood tests. Eventually my GP done the blood tests, and she said to me, yeah, there's something definitely not quite right. It might be rheumatoid arthritis, but I'm going to refer you to a specialist. And that was around March of 2018. So she referred me to a specialist, and they confirmed quite quickly that I had rheumatoid arthritis, and that it was quite severe. And to this, they weren't quite sure to the extent of the growth and how quickly it was kind of taking over my body, and they really were kind of desperate to put me on these medications. The medications of which I'll tell you shortly, but yeah, they wanted to put me on all these medications, and it was a very terrifying day. I remember crying to the nurse, saying, I'm so grateful that you know what it is, and she was a lovely nurse. She knew the pain I was in, she knew how tired I was, she knew all the symptoms, and I was just elated that somebody just understood what was going on with my body, because when I tell people, people just think, oh, you know, you're just tired, you're lazy, or, you know, it's probably your period or something like that. And it clearly wasn't. Um, so she wrote me up a prescription of methotrexate, folic acid. Oh God, I can't remember exactly what it was, but they were 3 medications, and it was the methotrexate that was kind of the one that rang alarm bells, because I then went away and done my own research, and I realised that this was quite a serious drug with huge implications. The nurse did explain to me some of the implications was that I shouldn't get pregnant while taking these drugs, and you know, I might have hair loss, I might, you know, have all these issues with my kidney and everything else. But she said, but it's fine because it will stop your rheumatoid arthritis from expanding to huge lengths, which I don't know, for some reason that didn't sit right with me, you know, so it wasn't okay with me. Before I had this consultation, they sent me away to have a chest scans to make sure my lungs were okay. And I asked her why that was, and she said, well, it could do some damage to your lungs if your lungs aren't healthy already. But she said, but your lungs are healthy, so it's fine. And I thought, so they're fine now, but because I'm going to take these medications, they're not going to be fine guaranteed in, you know, a few months, potentially years. So none of it sat well with me. So I very bravely, on my next appointment, decided to sit down with the nurse and just say to her, look, as much as I trust your knowledge and your speciality, and I really appreciate the advice and your patience, I'm just not at that point in my life where I can say to myself, you know, I'm not going to have kids and all of these things are off the table, because quite frankly they're not. You know, I'm in a great relationship. You know, maybe I want to have kids next year, maybe I don't, you know, I just don't know. And I think, yeah, I explained that it's my personal responsibility to consider what other alternative routes there are to recovery, you know, whether it's natural medication, whether it's self-healing, whether it's yoga, whatever it was my responsibility to go out and seek that level of advice, information, research, and all these things. So that's exactly what I did, and you know, months later, I'm so glad that I did it. Yeah, so that's the story of how I was diagnosed. In terms of how I'm feeling today, fast forward almost a year, it's going to be a year soon. I can clench my hands with no problems. I still have side effects. I mean, not side effects, I mean, you can't see now because the sun's so bright, but there's a little bit of discoloration, but my fingers are pretty normal. There's no bending, everything's quite normal. My thumbs have always been like that though. I'm quite, I think I'm double jointed, yeah. So my thumbs stretch back a lot, but to do this was so painful. You know, at work I used to have an ergonomic keyboard, ergonomic mouse, just so the pain of going like this all day wasn't killing me. I couldn't walk to work, and when I say I couldn't walk, I mean I'm a fanatic about walking. I love walking, looking at buildings, being in the sun. I love it, and I couldn't do all those things anymore. I felt really hurt. I felt horrific about it, and not in a way where it was like, woe is me, but I felt like some form of my life had been taken away from me. I'm a very outgoing person. I love going out. I love being outdoors. But suddenly, within those few years, I withdrew hugely. And, you know, people wouldn't know. My friends wouldn't have known, because I'm quite a private person and I like to go through things and come out the other side stronger and better without, you know, burdening people with how I feel and all that kind of stuff. So it was really hard for me. I was pretty much on my own with this. But when I got diagnosed, I had a trip coming up to India and the Maldives with my best friend and my boyfriend. So the 3 of us were traveling together, and I just couldn't tell them. I was so anxious and I was so nervous, and I didn't want to talk about it because I felt like it would end in tears. So I never spoke about it until we got back, and I told my boyfriend what had happened and what I'd been diagnosed with. And my mum, who was at that time in Ethiopia, decided to fly back and just be with me. And it's almost like I felt guilty about the whole situation, and it's not my fault that I've got this disease, but I felt horrific about the whole incident. And yeah, it's been really quite traumatizing for the most parts, and I haven't enjoyed any of it. Today I can sit here and say, goodness, that was quite a character building exercise or period of time in my life. And yeah, I definitely do believe that. I'm quite an optimistic person in that everything in your life happens for a reason, and the way you deal with it and your attitude defines how your story will end, right? And that was exactly the same for me. I took charge. Don't get me wrong, I was in bits for the best part of 3 or 4 months, but then I just took life by the horns and I said, no, I can't just be okay with not doing anything about this. So I did my research, I read books, I read articles, I read blogs, looked on YouTube, spoke to people. I'd done everything that I could to find things that I thought could help me heal. Now I'm not in remission, I'm not in total remission, I still have a bit of pain in my foot. From time to time, it's completely different pain. It's a completely different pain. I mean, this is the kind of pain I wished I had back when the pain was so severe. I can walk to work. I can walk my dog for 2 hours without stopping. I can clench my hands. I don't have any more aches in my body. I'm not tired. I'm not, there's no fatigue while I'm at work. I'm not desperate to just go home and get under the carpet, under my duvet and just stay there. My anxiety with that has completely diminished. I have none of those symptoms, and it's all mainly due to my diet, I believe. So yeah, it's been quite therapeutic actually talking about this, talking to a lot of strangers who probably, you guys are probably going through something like this, and I just want to say that there is an out. This is not the end of the story for you or for myself. There's so much more to come. I hope, my hope for this channel is that I can connect with you and you can connect with me, and maybe we can share things that help our health, because at the end of the day, that's all we have is ourselves and our health. And when they say health is wealth, I used to crack up at that phrase, but it's true. Without your health, you are completely ruined. So I really want to be there for whoever needs me. I saw myself needing this, and I want to do the same for people that are in need at the moment, whether that's emotional, mental support, advice on what I've done and how they can help themselves. That it's all relevant, right? So it's nice to meet you. I'm going to do a very short video because I'm at work. This is my office. I'm at work, so I don't want to stay here for too long. It's my lunch break at the moment, and that's why I'm kind of suited and booted. But yeah, I'm going to try and make 2 videos a week and just kind of talk through my journey and take you along with me. I'll try and put some pictures into this video, if not definitely into the next video, so you can see some of the inflammation. It's been a few years since my face was that bad, but I definitely have pictures somewhere, so I'll dig them out and put them in this video or the next one. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and it's been very therapeutic for me to talk about this quite freely to some strangers who will soon be my friends. Okay, it's really good to meet you. Bye.